Hey ladies and gentlemen, it's Jordan, and it's Friday. It's almost the weekend, or it is the weekend technically. But we did get a 3-day weekend because Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you. This is not my hoodie. Also, this is Matt's hoodie that I kidnapped. I remember it's still early in the morning. It's like 9 something, close to 10. As I mentioned in the last video about what this channel is now turned out to be, we're going to talk about something today a little bit. Matt and I like this morning kind of had like, not a fight, not even an argument, just like a kind of disagreement on something. And, but we'll get to that in a second, in a little bit. Everyone knows there's like a positive and a negative side to like most things you do. There's most of the time there's two sides to it, positive and negative. Now, negatives aren't always that bad. And what I mean to say that is like sometimes the negatives can keep you from doing something horrible, or they can help you kind of gauge, like, is the negatives that's going to come from this worth it for the positives that we get out, right? And it's like that with a lot of things. Sometimes things don't have positives, sometimes they don't have negatives, but a lot of times they have both. And it just depends on, like, what proportion they are. Like I said, sometimes it's good to think about the negatives because they kind of keep you in check. Be like, that's not worth it. The negatives are way too dangerous or stupid. Or they can kind of be like, okay, this is a negative, but it's not that bad. And the positive I get out of this is really good. I probably would do this anyway. And that's fine. But sometimes in those situations, not in those specifically, but there are situations where there is a negative, or maybe not completely negative, but just an upsetting part about what you're about to do or want to do. But it's so insignificant. Maybe not necessarily insignificant, but it's so like small that there's like no reason for it. Right? Or there's no reason for the negative, but there's no reason to worry about it whatsoever. Like, positive's there, positive's great, negative is this small, ignore. Right? There are those. Now, sometimes, whether it's you and a significant other, or just you by yourself, or you with a friend, something will happen, you'll start to think about something, and then you think of, like, again, positive, negative. You think of the negatives, which, once again, I'm talking about the ones that are this small, not the ones that can help you, like, visualize if things are worth it. These negatives are itty bitty. And when you think about it, or you take the negative and apply it to something that hasn't even happened yet, so go, like, way in the future, you start to spiral a little bit. Because you start using the negative as like a main context to whatever you're doing or want to do. But it's not important enough to where it needs to be thought about that much. But when you do, you're starting to think like, oh wait, but if this happens, but I'm like, but it hasn't. People take negatives way too far sometimes, and they only think about those and don't even consider the positive outcomes that can come from it. That's another thing people do. Like, there's positive and negatives, but you don't even think, even if it's small or important, you don't even think about what the positives could be. Don't even cross your mind. Or if it does, it doesn't matter because you still think the negative is more important, and sometimes it's not. Now, I'll take it for like what happened last spring example. I failed all my classes last spring semester. Yep. Now, I will say this, Matt blames himself. I don't know if he still does, but he did. He blames himself for that happening because he was like a distraction, but I'm like, no. I did this to myself. He's like, I'm a distraction. I'm like, no, you're not. Because guess what? We're in college now. We are all adults here. And that's what college teachers say, like, we're not going to baby you. Or that's what our high school teachers would tell us about college teachers. Like, they're not going to baby you. You have to be responsible for yourself and the work you turn in and stuff like that. Whether he was a distraction or not, I should have had enough sense to say, like, if he was like, hey, let's play a game. I'm like, okay, we can't in like a little while after I go through my homework, finish homework and stuff like that. Or he's like, hey, can we go on a date? And I'm like, or I should have been like, depending on what day it was. Now, if it was already a weekend, I would have said yeah. But if it was like Friday and he wanted to go somewhere, I should have said like, let's go tomorrow night, Saturday night. That way it's more of a weekend and I can make sure I have all my stuff, or at least some of my stuff done before I decide to do anything else. But that's not what I did. Therefore, me failing is my fault. Not his, not anyone's fault. It's literally my own because I didn't actually try to set kind of boundaries of when to hang out, when not to, when I set aside time for like work and stuff, and I never did it. So what I decided, but that's one thing. You also gotta hold yourself accountable for whatever choice you decide to make. Whether you do something anyway, whether when it has like negatives to it, and the negatives affect you in some way, shape, or form, and you don't like it, and you're kind of upset, and like you have no one to blame but yourself. You hold yourself accountable to what you decide to do. And you would think more people would do that, but sometimes not. They blame the world around them, blame everything else, which I'm no different. I've done that before and just went like, it's this person's fault, when I know deep down it's really mine. It's my fault. There's no one else's fault. For sometimes it is other people's fault for some of the things that happen, but there may or may not have been a way for you to avoid it or something like that. But every situation is different. Point is, whatever you decide to do, you hold yourself accountable for it. Whether something good happens or something good comes out of it or something bad comes out of it, you hold yourself accountable for what happens. That's another thing people need to know. They don't get off scot-free for everything they do. Meaning if something were to go wrong, you can't just blame the person next to you. Especially if it was your idea and not theirs. But, so, and I will say this, like, and that's a good thing to actually hold yourself to it. That way, whatever happens, you know, like, I am part of this. So whatever happens, I'm taking it. We're okay. And whatever happens, good or bad, I will find a way to make it through it. And that's a good attitude to have about certain things. Or all things, actually. Like, you can make it through. Now, I will say this as context. Matt and I are not morning people. Like, every day of the semester, I get up at pretty much like 6:30 in the morning. He gets up at the same time for him, because he has to go to work in the morning. He's like an hour ahead. So, we both have to get up early. He's more of like being upset and kind of angry when he gets up and has to go somewhere like work or something. I am more, if I'm still in bed and stuff, I just talk a bunch of nonsense like I'm crazy or loopy. Like, I'm still half asleep, so anything I say, I'll say something completely random that we weren't talking about this morning. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, I have to explain where it came from and why I started talking about this at random, which is funny. But the point is, like, in the morning, none of us are great people. He's always kind of in a cranky mood, whether he's gotten sleep or not. I hate to say it, but it's true. And I'm not cranky until I start seeing people. And it's usually just when it's my family, not anyone outside of that. I get cranky when I see my family early in the morning. If it's like Matt or friends spent the night and it's them, I'm fine. They want to talk to, because my family wants to talk to me. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you right now. But sorry, I'm tired, as I mentioned. But yeah. So when we talk in the morning, we don't talk the entire time he's on his way to work. Mainly, it's some of it's silence, but even still with that, like him being on the phone or him calling me whenever he's on his way to work, that helps me get up in the morning. And I know that sounds weird or crazy, but it does. Like, even though we don't talk all the time, it's just like, it's nice for him to be there and at least talk to him a little bit. Even if he's like yelling at traffic. Which is hilarious, at least for me. But like I said, main point, in the morning, no one's really happy for reasons. So something came up about my classes, and I mentioned I had a certain class that I have to have for like 6 semesters. And when I mentioned it, he sounded upset. He wasn't yelling or anything, but he was like, oh, well, now we won't get to talk. We have less time to talk now. I'm like, and I don't know if it was just because I was half asleep or what, but I could not understand for the life of me how that made sense. Mainly because the class I'm talking about, when it's the actual class time, which it doesn't happen every time, like it's Friday, it happens on Fridays from 1:45 to 2:45, so an hour. It goes on for an hour. And some Fridays we don't even have it at that time because there's nothing there. People have studio instead, which is today. We don't have it today. So, and you have to go to concerts. You have to go to concerts and performances and let them know you were there. Got to go to 11 of them. And he mentioned, was like, they're not all at that time, the 1:45 to 2:45. I'm like, I know, but usually those concerts happen after you're already off work. Which means when he gets off of work, he usually calls me and we talk while he's on his way back home. Meaning we would have already talked on the phone and everything beforehand. So I just could not only that, I'll have my phone on me so I can still like snap him and stuff during the concert or whatever that's going on. So I just could not, for the life of me, fathom what the hell he was talking about and why he was kind of started just now getting all mopey and upset about it. I just couldn't. And I didn't necessarily get angry, but I wasn't happy about it. I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? And I think I started waking up a little bit and I was trying real hard to understand. Because he mentioned talking on the phone as much, and I'm like, but we usually, here's where the logic kicked in for me and why I didn't get it and why I didn't think it made any sense what he was saying. Whenever he gets off of work and we talk for that length of time, we usually don't actually like call on the phone after, unless it's Wednesday when he's going to small group, or Tuesday when he's going to Locomex. And usually, or at least with small group, if he's a little late, he'll go straight from work to small group, so we don't talk. So we stopped talking usually anyway, unless certain days, so I just could not get it. And I kind of got upset. He sounded upset about it, and I just didn't understand. We got off the phone, and I'm like, I won't say I cried, but I got really sad because I was just like, oh no, now he's upset with me, now he's mad at me. I don't know what to do. I don't think he likes me now. Like, I had that kind of mentality. Granted, once again, it's early in the morning. His reaction to being up early in the morning and having to, like, do something immediately is basically be angry. My reaction of just being up early in the morning and talking about anything, I have emotional reactions. Like, I'll either be loopy as I don't know what while we're talking, but still, like, laughing, or I will just get really sad. And I don't know what happens or why. It just does. So, after we got off the phone this morning, I kind of got sad, and then I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. Going to class, gonna be fine. And as I started thinking about it some more, I still don't quite agree with the fact we're going to be talking on the phone as less, because that's just not, to me at least, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. We'll talk on the phone about the same amount. But I can see why he kind of said it like that, because sometimes, like, he's home, he'll go to the store or something, and he'll call me on his way to the store while he's in the store. And we talk during that, and I never know when that is. It's just random. He'll call me and like, hey, what's up? And then he'll say he's going to Best Buy or Kroger or somewhere else, and we'll talk that whole time, and it's nice. Or like, he'll call me on his way to go do something or let me know. But I'm like, and sometimes though he does forget. Like, sometimes if we're snapping and I notice he's not home, I'm like, where are you at? You didn't tell me you were leaving type deal. Because sometimes that happens. And I got it. I understood. Because, like, if I have a concert during the time frame he decides he wants to or has to go to the store for something, can't call him. Or can't answer him, rather. And that sucks. And I get it. And now I understand more why. So now that I'm awake, once again I'm awake, everything's making more sense. But in my way, it's like when things happen, there are like ways to counteract stuff like that. See, like, first off, he has my whole schedule. I sent it to him so he can put it in his phone. So he knows that anytime I don't have something in those places and I haven't told him anything, that he can call me at any of those points in time and I'm going to answer the phone. Like, you have my schedule in your hand, man. You know when I'm going to be at the very least in class, and of course if I have something I have to do after, I'm going to tell you about it. So you know that anytime I don't have anything, you can call me and I pick up the phone. I've done it before. You call me at random, like I said, when you go to the store, just call me then. It may take up some of my time. Granted, mind you, literally like an hour to an hour and a half of time is all it's gonna take. And that's not that long. At least to me. It's probably because I'm used to it. But I'm like, there are ways to like get around it. Say, like, for like Tuesdays and Thursdays I have some Symphonic Band at 4:30. Now if he gets off late, he will be getting off at like that time, or he'll forget to call me and call me later when, again, has my schedule, he should know. And that'll be the time I'm starting band, so I can't talk to him on the phone. I can text him and stuff and get away with it, but I can't like actually call him. But I get out at 6, I can literally call right after and talk to him while I'm on my way back to my dorm, back home. Like, there are ways to get around it. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying he blew it out of proportion necessarily. Like, I get where he was coming from and why he said it, but this was one of those situations where the positive of this outweighs the negative, or rather, the negative is so small that it doesn't matter that much. Because, like I said, there are ways to get around that, and we talk just as much on the phone as we used to. There are ways to do it. We're fine. I think we're fine. I'm fine. I hope he's better, at least a little bit, feels a little better now. And of course, I'm going to talk to him more about it and apologize whenever he gets off work. I'm going to say sorry and stuff like that, because I know I didn't really help this morning. I've come to realize that us talking about things early in the morning does not work. He's angry because he's up early. I'm delusional. We don't need to figure shit out early in the morning. It does not need to happen. That's the conclusion I've come to. Does not. But no, we're okay. It's just a matter of he wasn't necessarily wrong. That's a possibility, but it's not nearly as bad as what he made it seem like, or what he made it sound like. Like, he sounded like I pretty much wouldn't get to talk to him on the phone ever again, which I know that's not what he meant, but you get my point. It's what it sounded like in my delusional head at 6:45 in the morning. But it's one of those where that doesn't matter. Because A, there are ways to get around it. B, that's the least of our problems. We're still trying to figure out how he is gonna get a place to leave his house, as well as me trying to just finish up school in general so that way I can dip out and go live with him. But another thing is that with that sort of thing, I'm trying to reword it, or I'm trying to think of how to say it, because it's not bad. It's like, I'm taking more hours this semester, as another thing, which could also eat up a lot of my time. But you know how I worked around it? I pretty much set up my schedule to where all the classes that I have to be in person for are, A, they're early in the morning, that way the whole afternoon pretty much I have free to do whatever I want. And then another thing is that they are back to back. I have pretty much 2 classes a day, and they're usually back to back, which means one starts at, like I said, today's 7:30. The other one started an hour later, an hour 15 minutes later at 8:45, which means I'm done by 9:45 this morning and I have nothing to do the rest of the day. That's great. Like, both of them were in this early in the morning, so I don't have to deal with it, but they were also back to back. That way, like, I didn't have one class at 7:30 cut to like 3 hours later when I have it 3 hours later or so when I have another class at like 12 o'clock somewhere else. Like, because that spreads out my time, and getting it all done, getting it all done in one go, I'm good. Like, I worked around having 17 hours with multiple classes. 2 of them are online, and the ones that are in person are pretty much shoved together. That way, I don't have to go anywhere else once those classes are done. That way, I'm free to talk to him whenever he's free to talk after work, and at all after. Like, there are ways to do it. Like, I managed to figure out how to make it to where I still have free time for myself and him, and it's great. Yeah, I have to have concerts other than on Friday, or have to go to them, but they're later at night after we already talked, And after that's over, I will talk to you all night on the phone if you want to. Literally. That's fine with me. I can call you, let you know that I'm off, and if you still want to talk on the phone, I don't know what about, but if you still want to talk on the phone, I'm not going anywhere else. Sure. I'm pretty much just saying, like I said, I still think we're fine. Like, I'm better now. I hope he's better, like, after work. Well, it's work. We'll see. But I hope he feels a little bit better. Like I said, when he gets on the phone, I'm just going to apologize immediately. Because I feel bad that I was kind of like, I just didn't understand it. I was being stupid. He kind of yelled, sort of, because I guess he didn't get why I didn't understand what was going on. Once again, warning. We don't need to talk that's not true. We don't need to actually, like, talk about important or school shit in the morning. Because he'll just get frustrated with me. He's just angry in the morning anyway, and I'm delusional. We don't need it. But, I'm basically just trying to say, like, pick and choose. Pick and choose which kind of battles you want to have. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not, and you're making too much of a big deal of it, and sometimes you're making the right big deal. To me, in my opinion, this conversation was not a big deal. To me, this was something that can be easily fixed and worked around. Like, once again, I get where he was coming from and how, like, that is kind of upsetting. But there are ways to still, like, talk on the phone just as much as we do now. They'd just be at different points in time. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So, it's just, you kind of have to choose correctly on what negatives you want to, like, spiral with. Sometimes they're not necessary and you're only stressing yourself out about nothing. And sometimes there are good things that can, like, keep you from being a complete moron. So, like, I get it. But try to know which ones you want to know and try to figure out the difference between what's a negative you should worry about and a negative that you can easily, like, fix or root around to where it's completely unimportant, or if it is unimportant, ignore it. That's pretty much it. I'm not sure how much that would help anyone watching this. I'm trying to help, I really am, but I'm better at advice in person and not through a screen. Ask my friends. But that is it for this video. I just want to give insight into that because that happened today, and it's kind of something that can literally happen to anyone about anything. Like, for me, it would normally be school. For my friend, it'd be about, like, her job and her work. Just a lot of different things that could happen to you as an individual that can come up with you as an individual, or you and a group of people. It doesn't matter. But that is it for this video. 30 minutes, great. Like, comment if you want, subscribe, would love it. We are too early in the semester for everything to entirely fall apart. I've already had my major, as of Tuesday, I already had my first and hopefully last major, like, mental meltdown of the semester. I don't want it again. That was an awful day for me. I don't want it. But, I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next one. See ya.